Hi, I'm Frank Dean with Yosemite Conservancy.
Good morning, I'm Cassius Cash.
And Cash is our new incoming president of the Conservancy, and I'm so glad to be joined by him today.
And it's quite an honor to be here to join the Yosemite family, Frank. And you guys have done a lot of great work, and I'm glad to be part of that legacy to continue this sort of work to make sure that this precious resource that's behind us is going to be here for future generations. And so I'm excited to be picking up where you left off.
Cash, we've done some great projects here in recent years at Yosemite to preserve it for the future as we enter our second century of service as a nonprofit foundation for the park. One of the biggest projects we've ever done is the Mariposa Grove of giant sequoias a few years ago, when we took out all of the infrastructure, the development, the paved roads, took that out amongst the grove and restored that grove. So really proud of that as I start to head out the door here. And when I look at what's up ahead is just some interesting challenges ahead. The Mist Trail project, which is really the busiest trail in the park. We think it might be one of the busiest trails in the National Park Service, where you go up past Vernal, Nevada Fall, and all the way on up to Half Dome if you're so inclined, and making that a safer place and better signage. And so we're really excited about getting that project launched, and that'll be up to you to get that going and finish it up in a couple of years.
Well, that's awesome, because I know one of the things that's really important to the Park Service and Yosemite Conservancy is making sure that we have a quality visitor experience, and projects like that hits the spot. And going back to our 2016 mantra when the Park Service celebrated centennial, it's about making the next generation of users, supporters, and advocates. And that's how that's done, one project at a time. In addition to that, I mean, the great work that I've heard about of creating the next generation of advocates, that's important, that we remain relevant, and that these projects that you're mentioning, that people understand that the Conservancy is part of being in the forever business, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about. And that's what compelled me to come join the Yosemite family, is to be able to work on something that's bigger than yourself I don't take that for granted. And so it's quite an honor again to be joining the Yosemite Conservancy to continue that legacy of that.
Well, that's great to hear. We're just trying to make the park more accessible to all. And so I'm really excited that you're coming on board to lean in on that and help us.
And that's a personal passion of mine. As you know, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, where we didn't have this in our backyard, right? And my gateway to the natural world was through Boy Scouts, fortunately. And once I got into that natural world, the rest is history. And I feel it's an obligation for me personally, and I also think for the Yosemite Conservancy, to continue to be intentional about how we're making this park accessible. Because it's not about how many people are coming into the park, it's about who's coming into the park.
Right.
And so that's the way that we stay relevant, through keeping these structures alive to tell the stories that they from past years, and also creating a visitor experience that keeps generating memories. Because no different than where I've come from, people are repeat visitors, and it's because memories are made here through generations.
You're right about the memories. When we talk to supporters and donors, sometimes in a smaller setting, we often have a chance to ask them, like, what's your favorite memory of the park and Yosemite? And it's amazing the stories that come out from those moments. And so I think one of the things that I look at ahead is, the partnership we have with the Park Service is so important, and that you coming in from the Park Service as a superintendent is really going to give you a leg up here in this job, because we're sort of the junior partner in Yosemite. The Park Service runs this place,
right? And
but we help them, and just knowing how they operate and some of the challenges that they face is really going to be helpful for you as you get jump in here. I was a Boy Scout too, but I never made it to this place when I was a kid. I came here in college for the first time. College friend brought me up here when he heard I'd never been here. He said, "Oh my God," So we went up here a few weeks later and camped at Camp 4, and it was raining, and we were in this small tent, but you can't help but fall in love with this amazing scenery and this place. And at that point, I decided I wanted to be a park ranger, because I saw some of the things that they were doing here, and I did that for about a decade, and then I started to wonder, why did the boss decide this, and how come they aren't fixing this? And so I decided to try to get more into park management, and I eventually became a park superintendent, and it was a really great job, and I really enjoyed that career, and I worked here for 8 years in the superintendent's office, and had a lot to say about how the park was progressing forward. but it's been a really great ride to be in this place, because we really have the luxury of focusing on the positive things. We don't really ask our donors to fix the sewer line. So we have the fun stuff we work on, right? And so it has a lot of donor appeal, and you feel good about it in the end. It's so rewarding to be able to do something good here.
Wow. Well, we're at opposite ends of the bookends here, because I never would imagine I would have been in this business. Again, from Memphis, Tennessee. I just didn't see anyone look like me doing this kind of work.
Okay.
And so, because seeing is believing, right? And I tell young folks all the time, when I'm in the natural world, I always come out feeling better than when I went in. Because there's something good physically about being out here, right? But there's something good for the soul.
Yeah.
And it's hard to describe that, but I do my best of trying to share that, because when you're reaching out to young folks today, you're competing with iPhones and iPads, and so they want to know what's the dividend of how they spend their free time.
Sure.
And it's up to us to share that there is a reward for being out here. So I've learned that over the years, and this business, as far as being part of the Yosemite family now, I share with folks that I understand my purpose, but you got to be flexible in how you get to it, right? And my purpose is making things better, or helping people in the process to make things better. And Yosemite Conservancy fits that for me, right? In a better way. And know that you're leaving it in good hands, and I'm going to do my best to take it to the next level. But that's a big level, because you've done an awesome job here in 10 years. And it takes that kind of time to make the positive changes that you and your team has made over the last decade. So again, it's an honor, Frank.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're inheriting a great team here, and you're just going to be able to hit the ground running. And I know you're going to enjoy this, because I had the same feeling. We're much more nimble than the Park Service. I think I can say that. We just move a little faster. And that's not a slam. It's just the reality. And obviously, when you're managing a park, you don't want to do any harm, right? So the Park Service has to be cautious. They have to run through the public process. And once we get the green light, though, from them to do a project, we can go for it. And you're going to enjoy that pace that we have here. And sometimes we joke about it's called conservancy urgency, because we can move a little faster. But it's a good feeling, right, to get things done. So you're going to have a blast here. So welcome, and I'm so glad you're coming in.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, thanks. All right.